Hey everybody, day 22. Well, I didn't want to leave you hanging. So 22 veterans a day kill themselves. That's the average. So I figured I'd give you just one more day and give you a little information here. So one of the verses, the verse we're going to cover today, since, who knows whether or not you were prepared to do a Bible study or not, and maybe you didn't know where to go, and you're trying to bring everything together. So I'll say this. There is one verse that I didn't cover that I should have. There's actually two that I felt like I didn't cover enough about. And it's the subject of love. So, like, the reason that we're doing all this, that like any Christian I know does this, he does it out of love. He or she does this out of love. And it's a different kind of love. And in other languages, they have different ways to describe the love. In English, we just say love, and we expect it to cover a whole broad aspect of things. So, but here in 1 Peter 4:8, it talks about, maybe you're still feeling a little bit crappy about yourself and all that other stuff that goes along with it. So, we're going to cover 1 Peter 4:8 to start out with. And above all things, have a fervent love for one another. So like our Christian brethren, and I know my Marine friends, we have a love for one another that is like a band of brothers. So above all things, have a fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Wow. Yeah, that's a really deep one there, huh? Yeah. Okay, so there's one other verse that covers love, and I'd be really doing you a disservice if we didn't cover that, because when you get into a small group or I don't know, small groups, men's groups, those kind of things, and you start talking about the Bible, and then maybe it's one of those groups where you sit there and go, "Oh man, I got so upset," blah blah blah, and somebody will pipe off with, "Love is patient, love is kind," and you'll go, "What?" And then somebody else later on goes, "Love is patient, love is kind," and what they're referencing is, oh no, great. I was working on my chainsaw here earlier, and I just got grease and everything on my elbow. Anyways, and on the Bible, great, awesome. I can still read it. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8 is what we're going to be covering. So this is the verse that everybody will say, and a lot of times it was women in the couples groups would always, well, there's a new couple, make sure you remind them that love is patient, love is kind. So, but it also refers to just you as a person, and it explains what love is, and then it explains what love isn't too. And those are kind of important things, because sometimes, like when we enable somebody, we think we're loving them, but we're not. We're loving them to death by enabling them. I mean, if someone has a drinking problem, or there was some ridiculous movie I saw that not too long ago, it was terrible, with Brendan Fraser. It was called The Whale. It was just a horrible movie, an unrepentant, obese guy. Obesity's in the Bible more than drunkenness too, by the way. Anyways, unrepentant, obese guy, and I don't know. At the end, he ends up ascending into heaven. That's just not true. That's just not true. Or if he ascended into heaven, it was to go to be judged, sent someplace else. But anyways, love is not enabling someone to death, and that's what his nurse, his assistant or helper or whatever, she kept giving him these sandwiches, like he was obese, and she kept feeding him more and more. He was eating himself to death. It was kind of a weird, terrible movie. He got an Oscar for it, figures. Anyways, 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. And this is the verse. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Thinks no evil, Oh, it does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. But love never fails. So, that's the love is patient, love is kind verse. When you get back into church, if you decide to do that, and you take your spouse, your wife, or maybe you're dating someone and you guys are going to church, someone will remind you, love is patient, love is kind. And it's true. It's 100% true. It's probably not what you want to hear when you run out of gas on the side of the road because your husband didn't fill the gas tank. That's an unlikely scenario, but anyways, you know what I'm saying. Love is patient, love is kind. I keep thinking that all the time. Because love your neighbor as yourself. Boy, what does love mean? Love is patient, love is kind. And that's why sometimes we have to love people from a distance until we can be patient enough to be around them. And then some people, are too toxic to be around. And we love them from a distance and just pray for them. We don't have to be involved in everybody's life. And if you're somebody who has a lot of issues yourself, take care of yourself for a change. I know most of my friends don't. I didn't. I took care of everybody else. I was always concerned with what everybody else was doing and did you get enough and everything else. And I was slowly dying. So, inside and out. I'm not anymore though, so like I said, Jesus has made a miraculous change in my life. And I'm trying to share that with you because I want to see you when we're done with this. Hey, love your neighbor as yourself and love God with all your heart. I just messed that up, but love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. See, I'm not perfect. I'm trying. I mess it up all the time. That's why I don't delete these. That's why these videos that you see and, oh, you're annoyed that the dog was in the background or the birds were, oh, he'd have a great video if he just did. Oliver Anthony had a great video, but you'd hear those bugs in the background. Yeah, that's the point. That's how we live. Nobody's perfect. This is life. We're all just getting through it. It's boot camp for eternity. You better start thinking of it that way. Because you know what? We all have a good time, and most of us have had a debaucherous season. All right? But I wouldn't encourage a young person to go do that these days. And I've learned a lot. It's called spiritual maturity. You can do that if you give it a shot. Anyways, I'm not perfect. So love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. 22 a day. So keep coming back. I'm going to be your Thursday, Friday, Monday guy. Because, all the pastors do all that other stuff every other day. I'll just be here and we can talk.